Next up, we have an incredible environmental activist and true Renaissance woman, Sally Ranney. Published author, public speaker, television anchor, gifted artist, pianist, composer, horsewoman, mother, wilderness guide, environmental activist, and green business strategist. She has dedicated her life to ardent advocacy to protect the genetic archives of the planet, securing conservation custody for millions of acres of wild places in the United States, Alaska, Chile, Argentina, Africa, and Canada. She worked closely with 3 U.S. presidents, Carter, appointed by President Reagan to serve on the Presidential Commission on America's Outdoors. Her experience spans 30 years in the area of land, water, and energy policy, biodiversity, wildlife protection, and climate change. She is the president and co-founder of the American Renewable Energy Institute, national board member of the National Wildlife Federation, chairwoman and co-founder of ERA, Earth Restorative Advocates, is an impact investor and CEO of Stillwater Preservation, LLC, and Wetlands Mitigation Banking Company. Her accomplishments and honors are far too numerous to mention all of them here. For more on Sally Ranney, she can share her website and everything with you. Welcome. Thank you.
I said that 30 years because it's really 40 years and didn't want to reveal how long I've been doing this. So I wasn't going to tell a story, but I was so inspired by Kevin that I want to share with you really what set the course for my life and trusting and understanding the relationship of the one, of the oneness. And when I was about 7 years old, in fact I was just 7 years old, I was in Bible school. And we were Methodists, and all the children between the ages of 6 and 10 were in a semicircle, and the teacher, the Bible study teacher, was standing in front of us, and we had our little Bible books open. I still have that Bible book. But I don't remember exactly the story that he was reading to us. And I slammed the book shut. I stood up, I said, "This is not the truth. I don't want to be here anymore, and I'm never coming back." And I walked out. And I was shaking. And I was petrified because I knew they'd go get my mother, and she was going to be after me. So I was walking home. We were on the same block, so it was safe. I was walking home, and I heard this voice behind me, "Sally, stop." I'm walking, and I still remember what I had on, little yellow chiffon dress, you know, that comes up above your knees, and the patent leather shoes, and the little socks with the ruffles, and all of this. I can remember it perfectly. She says, "Sally, I told you to stop." So I stopped, but I didn't turn around. I was really afraid I was going to get in big trouble. She took me by the shoulders. She turned me around and she stooped down. So we were eye to eye. She wasn't talking down to me. And she said, "If you don't want to be, I understand that you told your teacher you never wanted to come back to Sunday school." I said, "Yeah, I did." "And you said that he wasn't telling the truth." "Yep, I did." "Well, if you don't want to be in Sunday school," she asked, "where would you rather be?" And out of the mouths of babes, I was 7, I said, "With God." She said, "Well, where would that be?" And immediately I said, "Over there." And over there was a huge field with big old cottonwood trees and this wonderful creek that tangled through all these grasses, and there were worms, and I could watch them make their designs in the sand, and there were great birds, raptors, that would come overhead because we lived out on the edge of town, and I could lay there and watch the clouds, and my imagination could go, and I could remember. And there was one tree that I was particularly drawn to, very old, and she had a cavity. It was a she, and she had a cavity in her base. And I crawled in there and I would take naps inside of her. And one day I got the inspiration, oh my God, if I put my ear against her, I can hear her grow. And I did. And I think I heard her grow. And then one day, not knowing anything about meditation, I'm 7, 8 years old. I get this voice, this instruction says, put your back straight against the tree. Meditate. Well, what's meditate? Close your eyes. Quiet. So I did exactly that. And I merged with that tree. Everything was like a Monet painting. Light, colors. There was no hard boundary between me and that tree. And that's when I knew there is no separation. That's when I knew that everything is one. I was one with that tree. And that set the course for my spiritual life. That set the course for my work, the rest of my life. And that set the course for my love. Working from love, not anger. The other thing I learned when I was young, I was told, and could we turn the lights down a little bit because it's, there's a rheostat there, I think. I was told that the earth was the blue star. Because if you went out, and you looked into the universe, and if you did ever get close, this was another place here in the shadow, and Earth was out there, and you got closer and closer and closer. It was blue. It was a blue star. And in some native cosmology, they think that it probably should have been called, and it was called, the water planet, not Earth, because we are water. And that's what gives us life. And we are born in the womb of creation with all things. We're the same as the trees. We are the waters. We are the great and the small among us. We are the gentle giants. We're the venomous and the precision hunters. We're the magnificent bee, honeybee. And we're the fishes. And all the colors. Everywhere. We are it all. And we're the fragile as well. Everything has a purpose. Everything has a pattern. Everything is dynamically interconnected and interdependent because everything is the one. Now, I bet you didn't know this. Our entire biological system, the brain and the earth itself, work on the same frequencies. And the book, The Trust Frequency, which brings indigenous wisdom and knowledge together with quantum science, this has been known for a long time, but we're not operating with that understanding because we are out of sync with Mother Earth. And so, we're not really experiencing or seeing what is. Because we have created a grand illusion, the illusion of separation. And this is our nemesis, that we think we're separate from each other, from Mother Nature, from the universe, from everything. And you could call that, I guess, ultimate arrogance or ultimate ignorance, or just having our heads in the sand. But when your head's in the sand, guess where your ass is? So, regardless of whether it being the grandest delusion or not, the result has been we are devouring our one and only home planet, the one and only blue star that we know. And really, we're doing it like there is literally no tomorrow. And what we have manifested is really based on a series of is rooted in a series of false assumptions. And we've become complicit in the destruction. A friend of mine, Ed Begley Jr., says, I don't understand why when we destroy something created by man, we call it vandalism. When we destroy something that is of nature, we call it progress. Mm-hmm. And so, what's it all for? Kevin was talking about money and greed. What is it for? How long does that last? The plastic in the ocean will outweigh the fish in the ocean by 2030. We even can rationalize the extinction of species. And we let our numbers spread across the landscape where there is not a shred of habitat left. Nature can't breathe, let alone humans. We turn this into this, and all of it collectively has created climate change. And people are suffering. Terrible suffering. And it has allowed wars. The war in Syria was climate change because of extended drought, and the farmers looking for relief from their government, begging for help, finally literally took up arms. And that civil strife gave way to hate and radical fundamentalism. And so many species are suffering. They are subservient to what we do or we don't do. And it got us this guy. These are all the false assumptions. So climate change, interestingly enough, has unambiguously put humanity on notice that we are on the cusp of great change, of making a critical choice about ourselves. Only collaboration at a global level, at a one humanity level, will solve climate change, because the effects are on all humans and all natural systems. Nothing is going to escape. No one is going to escape. And that high level of collaboration can only take place if the tenets of the existing paradigm are unraveled and replaced. So change is inevitable. Can I have a little water? Change is inevitable. And one of the things in the Trust Frequency book that Connie and Andrew will talk about and have written about is that because change is inevitable and because we can create our own realities, is that why not choose something to design and create a living future? We can usher in an evolutionary leap in human consciousness. And actually, we've been preparing for this forever. And perhaps I just want to posit, maybe we created climate change so that we would come to this point quickly. Because we have not 12 years, what the IPCC said. We actually have 8. So, we need deep subterranean inquiry. It is really required to expose those false assumptions. And what are some of those false assumptions? Fear, competition. That master impulse of the universe is collaboration, not competition. Einstein said, I can tell you how it all works, but I can't tell you what holds it together. It's love. That's what holds it together. So we've been operating with blame and all these negative assumptions that are about destruction, destroying, depleting. And that's really embedded in our consciousness. But that's not who we are. That's not our birthright. So we have to go deep and really look at those defective assumptions, because we have been hypnotized for centuries. And we've been imprisoned, and now it's time to break out. And so really, what does that mean? What does that mean? It means a new living narrative that supports and creates a paradigm based on assumptions which nurture. And I'm not going to read all the negative, but I want to read you about the narrative that we need to embrace and hold if we want to move through where we are now into the light, into a deeper understanding and knowing and remembering. A narrative that supports and creates a paradigm which embraces the fated independence and interconnectedness of all humanity and all living systems and the one, undifferentiated consciousness. A narrative of dignity, diversity, respect, restoration, replenishment, responsibility, patience, generosity, kindness, abundance, and love. And so we are starting to remember we are nature. We are one consciousness starting to remember itself. And what does this really come down to? It comes down to trust. It comes down to no harm relationship to nature, to each other. What if we let nature embrace us again, instead of us using and depleting? It's possible. And what if we understood, knowing what our real birthright is and who we really are, never turn our back on our true nature? And so it is in this place that I've held all of my work. And it's in this place that I have trusted, even that Trump is here. I trust that because he has awakened a whole country, a whole world. He never expected to do that. There's activism everywhere, ignited everywhere because of him. Everything serves a purpose, and I trust that. And in the trust frequency, the rules are different. When you're in fear, you're going to attract and get certain things because you're in that lower density frequency. When you're in the trust frequency, the rules are different. Manifestations are different. So if you move into that place, and you'll hear so much more about it, we can actually achieve the world that we know in our heart of our hearts that we want. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sally. So people are talking all about climate change and us having 12 years until we're in major crisis. She's saying 8 years. We don't have time. We're already in crisis. And for me, it's really hard to talk about this and to see those images too, because I have 5 children. That's why I do what I do. I'm also a director of Unify, unify.org, and a lot of my team members are here today. Thank you guys. We help reach out to millennials and younger generation. We reach out to everyone, but we get messaging of positive messages out to younger kids. 58% of our world is younger people, millennials and younger right now. So that gives me a ton of hope, but we also want to uplift them. And the greatest part of the parliament right now has been seeing all these solutions and having all these leaders tell what can be done, and we can do this together. So thank you all for showing up here and being in a trust frequency and being in unity and figuring out how we create more harmony and work together better. It means a lot.
So a couple quick solutions. One is, I don't know how many of you know what's going on in the Arctic right now. You know that it's melting. You know that it's melting 3 times faster than the third pole. The third pole is the Tibetan Plateau, which is melting about 2 times faster than any place else. And then there's the Arctic. So there's 3 poles. The Arctic is the soft spot on a baby's head to this planet. And it is under major attack by countries that have shorelines there and countries that don't, including China and others. There is a resistance that's beginning to rise to say, this is too important to humanity. This is our Mother Earth. It's too important to let oil and gas drilling, huge shipping lanes, militarization. There's a lot of militarization that's being built up in the Arctic. Fear, and all other kinds of development. The consensus of those who are doing it is that we can do that without harming the environment. That is not the truth. That is not the truth. So there's something called MAPS. It's the Marine Arctic Peace Sanctuary. It's a treaty that we put together, a UN treaty. We need 99 signatures. This is not a debatable treaty. It's written as it is. Heads of state or foreign ministers can sign it or not. We have 3 signatures so far. We have a ways to go. It's contentious because the collective consciousness that we've agreed to, as I was showing and has been expressed, that we've agreed to, says, it rationalizes that we can do what is about ready to happen. So in that, protecting the Arctic, and you can come up to me later about maps, in protecting the Arctic, we need a global citizen movement. We need big ideas now that move fast and quickly, and with technology platforms, we can do that. Alongside of that is 100 drawdown solutions that have been mentioned, and the one that I want to touch on, which is really, really important, and the analytics are out there. Woods Hole research organization has the analytics on this, so does Nature Conservancy, is if we restore our soils, if we restore the ecosystems that have been damaged, particularly with planting millions of trees, we can eliminate 30%, we can capture 30% of all the CO2 that's going into the atmosphere now. Our challenge is, on drawdown, is 1,000 gigatons of CO2 has to either be sequestered and never go into the atmosphere or captured. The last thing I'm going to mention is that there is a new technology out that can coal-fired power plants need to be shut down now. And all of them need to be shut down. Okay, but how do we do that? There is a new technology, a hydrogen technology that's coming out of Australia. They have a pilot program going. I can't explain, he's the one who should explain it, but I haven't explained it to him. What I know. Anyway, it is producing hydrogen through the heat up to 4,000 degrees of what is happening with the coal-fired power plant. So with these units, you can stop the coal, create the heat through this mechanism. It's a cylinder, I can't explain it all, and various discs that don't degenerate in high temperatures, and convert those. It costs, their estimate, $10 to $12 million per coal-fired power plant. That's nothing to save the planet. So it's out there. It's out there. We just need to push on corporations. We need to push on and flip. We need to flip the politics, bottom up instead of top down. One of the proposals with the One Humanity Institute is to have a Hall of United Peoples to balance the Hall of the United Nations. That's top-down, elite energy, elite decision-making. We need bottom-up. So the solutions are out there. And if you want to talk to me more, just come up and I'll tap you in to wherever you want to go. Thank you.